Did you know that the Statue of Liberty might have a hidden, darker meaning? Stick around because this story is packed with mysterious twists and intriguing facts. And don't forget to follow our channel for more mind-blowing revelations. Some believe that the Statue of Liberty, an iconic symbol of freedom, actually represents Lucifer. Let's dive deeper into this theory. The statue's crown has 7 points, which some say symbolize the 7 deadly sins, a stark contrast to the traditional view of enlightenment and freedom. The torch she holds is another point of contention. It's widely accepted as a beacon of liberty and hope, but some argue it represents Lucifer, often called the light bearer. This interpretation suggests that the statue's light is not about freedom from oppression, but rather a more sinister kind of freedom from God. There's more. The designer of the statue, Frederick Auguste Bartholdi, was a known Freemason. Some conspiracy theorists suggest that the Masonic influence imbued the statue with hidden esoteric meanings. Could the statue be part of a Luciferian agenda that has been unfolding for centuries? This theory posits that what we celebrate as liberty might be masking an agenda that's far more complex and eerie. Is it mere coincidence, or is there a hidden truth lurking in plain sight? If you found this intriguing, make sure to follow our channel. We've got more fascinating and mysterious stories that will keep you questioning everything you thought you knew.
This is the dark story behind Hello Kitty, and it's purely horrifying. In 1950, a woman named Akiko lived in a small village with her 6-year-old daughter, Hannah. Hannah was very sick with a strange illness that no doctor could cure. Akiko was desperate to save her child and refused to give up. One stormy night, someone knocked on the door. When Akiko opened it, an old woman was standing there. She looked frightening. Her eyes were wide, and her face was wrinkled like a witch. The woman said, "I know, your daughter is dying. I can save her." Afraid but desperate, Akiko let her in. The old woman set down a small bag and pulled out something strange, a pale doll that looked like a mix of a man and a cat. The doll had a human body, but the face of a cat, and its skin looked like an old man's. The woman began talking to the doll as if it were alive. Suddenly, whispers filled the room, and Hannah started breathing easier. She was getting better. Akiko was overjoyed. But then the old woman said, "I've saved her, but there's a price. Your soul is mine, and your daughter will always belong to him." That night, both the old woman and Akiko disappeared. Years later, Hannah grew up and created Hello Kitty, a pale, mouthless cat, just like the doll that saved her life.
Watch this video with me. This guy is going to talk about superfluids and dark matter, but stick around to the end of the video because I want to show you something.
Yeah, so I've been working on this theory in which dark matter actually forms a superfluid state. So we know of superfluids in the laboratory. The most famous example is liquid helium. It stays a fluid all the way to absolute zero temperature. At high enough temperature, it's bubbling, 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 and then you bring it down to the critical temperature, and all of a sudden its manifestation becomes completely different. And that is quantum mechanics. At this point, the superfluid state is reached, and the helium atoms are no longer functioning as individual, independent entities, but they're really in unison. So now you might think, okay, why would I think that dark matter is this crazy type of stuff? All you need to have a superfluid state, people do it with atoms in the laboratory, you need 2 things. You need to have a lot of these guys, a lot of atoms, densely packed, and you need very cold temperatures. And dark matter, not the WIMPs, but some other form of dark matter can satisfy both those things.
So we all grew up knowing that there's a vacuum in space, but physicists lately that dark matter is now a superfluid, meaning that it acts like water. Space is more like a liquid. Before I start my science experiment, I want to share something with you. Genesis 1:7. And God made the firmament and divided the waters which were under the firmament from the waters that were above the firmament, and it was so. Let's do the experiment.
They will levitate. Unbelievable. I've seen electricity go right into the objects and a million pieces just fly apart.
In fact, using only 75 watts of energy, enough for a small light bulb, Hutchison made a 60-pound cannonball rise off the table. It would also fuse dissimilar materials, heat metal but not burn the wood it sat on, shatter metal as well as change its crystalline structure. This was something to write home about.
Beginning of 1980, experimenting with all the electromagnetics and electrostatic equipments I had at the time, I started to notice some very, very unusual effects, such as a room being filled up very quickly with multicolored lights, steel bars sitting on wood and not causing any fires, metal turning to jelly, things levitating and jumping off to the ceiling, or simply go up, hover, and then fall back down.
Dubbed by some as the poltergeist machine, there is no one machine, just a lot of old Army surplus gear, randomly tuned by John. No one knows how it works. John has apparently figured out the right combination of radio waves and electrical energy to create the effect. If it could be proven, its impact would be huge. You'd have to rewrite most of the science textbooks.
To revolutionize the planet. If you can build a zero-point energy reactor about the size of your microwave oven, put it in the back of your house somewhere, you run your house. You don't need to, you run all its electricity needs. You don't need to pull anything off the national grid. Well, if you put that into the third world, you're going to revolutionize the third world. That is as much a threat to some people as it is a benefit.
And as far as the Hutchison effect goes, I'm rather disturbed that the U.S. government and aerospace corporations has it. The concerns of it being used for an evil force by the military-industrial complex disturbs me quite a bit. I like to see it used for the helping of nature because there's so much pollution going on with nature. Mankind tends to want to fight each other all the time with wars.
Do you remember these books from your childhood, the McGraw-Hill science textbooks? I mean, this company published all sorts of textbooks for elementary through high school kids, and I definitely remember reading some of these in my classes. But did you know that one of the companies that published these books was owned by Ghislaine Maxwell's father? If you don't know Ghislaine, she was Jeffrey Epstein's business partner, and she helped run his massive sex trafficking operation. She was the madam in the operation and would recruit girls into his terrible ring. But we're not really here to talk about her. We're here to talk about Robert Maxwell, her father. Now, Robert was an extremely wealthy British businessman. So in 1984, after Robert Maxwell had already acquired a lot of wealth, he purchased a publishing group. This group included publications in newspapers like the Daily Mirror, which is still in existence. I mean, there is a lot to uncover about Robert Maxwell. He was best friends with a lot of British royals. He rubbed elbows with celebrities, with the elite. And like I said before, he was extremely wealthy. He even had a massive private yacht that he nicknamed the Lady Ghislaine after his daughter. Now, with all of these powerful connections, there has to be some sort of controversy, right? Well, for decades, it's been alleged that Robert Maxwell was actually a spy. And people don't really know which intelligence agency he worked for the most, but he has ties to the Russian KGB, the British intelligence service MI6, and the Israeli intelligence service, the Mossad. People have alleged that Robert Maxwell was actually a triple or double agent, meaning that he might have been sharing information between 3 different Secret Service organizations. Obviously, this showed that he didn't really have anybody that he worked for in particular, he just chased the money and the power. It's very strange that his blood daughter Ghislaine would end up being directly involved with one of the biggest sex trafficking rings in world history. Now, you can read a lot about Robert Maxwell's supposed spying. One fact that I found interesting was that 6 former and current heads of Israeli intelligence attended his funeral, but his death was extremely suspicious. So in November of 1991, he went sailing on his private yacht, he disappeared, and just a few days later, his completely nude body was found washed up. According to people that examined Robert's body, there was a graze on his shoulder, but there were no other noticeable injuries. But something strange is that when experts took a look at his body, nobody could conclusively say exactly how he died. And the official statement said that he may have had a heart attack and then drowned as he was urinating nude on the side of his yacht. Years later, though, a lot of different things would come out about Robert, including the fact that he bugged a lot of devices and rooms that his own employees were in because he felt like they were being disloyal and he couldn't trust anybody. His own sons even came out and said that while they didn't know exactly what had happened to him, they knew that he didn't take his own life because he wouldn't do that, and he had talked about how he would never do that. So obviously, this is just unbelievably bizarre how this all ties into Ghislaine Maxwell, Jeffrey Epstein, that whole saga. And I feel like it's something that a lot of people don't talk about and the government really hasn't looked into. And back to the beginning, I can't ever really look at one of these books the same again.
Wondered what terrifying secrets science is hiding? Quantum tunneling in our cells. Some scientists believe quantum mechanics plays a role in DNA mutations, where particles tunnel through barriers. This could potentially lead to genetic mutations linked to cancer and other diseases. Invisible dark matter. Dark matter makes up 27% of the universe, yet it's invisible and undetectable. If dark matter interacted with us differently, it could potentially pass through us or alter our biology without us even noticing. Coronal mass ejections. The sun sometimes releases massive bursts of charged particles. These bursts can damage electronics on Earth, potentially leading to a global blackout of power grids, GPS, and communication. Vanishing species. We're losing species at a rate up to 1,000 times higher than natural extinction rates. This trend is largely due to human activity. This loss impacts ecosystems, potentially disrupting food chains we rely on. Gamma ray bursts. These violent cosmic explosions could hit Earth without warning. One burst directed at Earth could strip away our ozone layer, exposing life to lethal radiation from the sun. Sleeping in shifts. Before artificial lighting, humans often slept in 2 shifts, waking up in the night. Some studies suggest our bodies might be naturally programmed to break sleep into phases, though waking at night could have once exposed us to greater nocturnal threats.
Most curious and neglected areas of human research, and that is the magnetic fields, not only of man, but of the universe and of the smallest atom. Studying magnetism as it comes into the human body, we've discovered that each human body is surrounded by an etheric or energy field. This energy field is sometimes referred to as an aura, but it is not the true aura that we think of in metaphysics. This magnetic field is an area of energy. This area of energy forms an egg-like atmospheric sheath around the physical body, usually extending 3 to 5 feet from it in each direction. This energy field is the basis of virtue, because this energy field depends for its reality, its serviceability, and its protecting power to move emotion, thought, and the attitudes of the person around which this magnetic field is gathered. In other words, the individual, if they are normal, if mentally, emotionally, and physically, they are keeping the rules, this magnetic field forms a tremendous protection. It is normal, it is healthy, it is constantly able to handle infections and all kinds of difficulties. It will help to heal wounds, it will help to recover the use of functions and organs, and if we are deprived of some part of the body, it will try to compensate for it. As long as the individual takes proper care of his magnetic field, it will serve him. Now, this is a phase of morality that is generally overlooked. It is assumed that these magnetic fields are something you don't pay much attention to. They're there, maybe they'll help a little. But the truth of the matter is that practically the whole survival of the individual depends upon maintaining the integrity of this flow of energy into the magnetic field. This energy comes from the sun. It enters the individual through the crown of the head. It disseminates through the entire body, and it's excreted back again through the lower centers of the body and is recleansed by the solar energy. This is a kind of a little private tank or capsule of light that we are all carrying about with us all the time. Now, the problem of morality in this is very definite. The moment we break rules, we damage that magnetic flow. We have got to keep the laws of nature, and these in turn are the laws of God, or the magnetic field fails.
Factor for what it really means to be awake, knowing about the occult and understanding that there are both light and dark aspects to it. What is the occult and why should you know about it? The occult is a body of science which is not widely known to the general population, consisting of hidden knowledge about the workings of the human psyche and the laws of nature, both the seen laws, meaning the physical laws, the physical sciences, and the unseen laws, meaning the spiritual laws, the laws that govern morality, the laws that govern behavioral consequence. The key point to keep in mind here is that the occult is hidden knowledge. It doesn't mean bad, it doesn't mean evil, it doesn't mean negative, it doesn't mean Satanism, voodoo, or any other specific occult practices. The occult is a generalized term, generalized terminology for hidden knowledge, for knowledge which has been hidden from people's view. So hey, could that include sciences that people don't really understand about how energy works in the universe, how we could gain energy from different methodologies other than internal combustion engines or burning fuel or things like that. Sure, all of those things are occult knowledge. We have to understand the difference between these two terms, exoteric and esoteric. Exoteric means something that is intended for or likely to be understood by the general public. Okay, it's common knowledge. The word exoteric comes from the Greek adjective exoterikos. Exoterikos in Greek means external or outside of. The core of truth lies at the very center, at the bullseye. That's what we ultimately want to get to if we're going to transform ourselves and transform our society for the better. The esoteric is information which is intended for or likely to be understood by only a small number of people with specialized knowledge or interest. The esoteric is that which is hidden or occulted. It is mysterious. It is beyond the range of ordinary knowledge, experience, or perception. It is that which is communicated only to the initiated. The initiated means those who have begun a process of initiation. The knowledge of the self, the knowledge of the human psyche and how the psyche operates, its components, its aspects, its motivations, its desires, etc. What drives us? What's going on at a subconscious level? How our reality is built, it's built atop knowledge. On top of that knowledge as a foundation, you either have a grasp or an understanding of those principles or you do not. So these are decision-making, filtering processes. These processes take place in the human mind and are chosen by each individual based upon the available information that they have taken in. So if you haven't done your grammar or you haven't aggregated your knowledge in step number 1 of this process, you can't possibly do the processing and come to an understanding of it. That's why so many people have no understanding of the principles of the occult sciences, because they haven't even started beginning to learn what the occult is or what it contains. Then the third step in this process is acting. Actually taking action based upon your understanding. Each individual in a society, each individual's behavior is based upon the quality of their decision-making processes that they exercise in step number 2, which in turn were based on the quality of the available information which they took in. Wisdom is action. It's different than knowledge. It's different than understanding. Knowledge is something that exists inherently, and you can take it in objectively. Understanding is an internal process that goes on within the self, based upon the knowledge that you've taken in and processed. And then wisdom is action. It's what you do in the world with the knowledge that you have accrued and understood.
Black mirror, black obsidian mirror, also known as a scrying mirror, was used throughout history as a tool for divination and fortune telling. People would stare at it and ask themselves questions, or ask outwardly beings questions. You could ask it about past relatives who are no longer here, present events, and things to come in the future. One of the first examples we see of this is in Snow White, with mirror, mirror on the wall. What most people don't know is that we use black scrying mirrors every day. Don't believe me? Then what's this? And this? And these? And lastly this. Remember, television has the prefix tele. Tele means over distance. So this black mirror gives a vision over distance. We see it in words like telegram, which is sending messages over distance, telepathy, which is communicating over distance mentally, and lastly, teleport. Remember, a black hole is a portal. Don't let it fly over your heads, y'all. What does this make us if we have all these black mirrors around us? Once seen, it can't be unseen. And in the land of the blind, the one-eyed man is king.
Look at the Vatican. Once you begin to look at the Vatican, now it's going to get serious, because you need to remember that the Pope has dominated Europe for some 1600 years, and Europe has dominated the world for 1600 years. And our American system is a Vatican system. We live under the Vatican in this country. The Vatican system, of course, is based on the ancient Roman system. And in Rome, the seat of power for Caesar was called Capitol Hill. And so every morning Caesar would go up on the hill, Capitol Hill. capital as a Latin word for money. You either have the capital or you don't. And consequently, in the Capitol Hill, Caesar would meet with the Senate. That's what we have, the Senate. The symbols of the ancient Roman Senate were two fasces, the crossing of the fasces. That's the symbol of the United States Senate, crossing of the fasces. When you see the President of the United States standing and speaking to an audience in the room where the podium and then the Speaker of the House and the Vice President sit behind him, when you see someone making a speech in that room, look on both sides of the podium. Don't look at the person talking. Look at the symbols. For many will look with their eyes but not see, and will listen with their ears but not hear, and with the heart not get the sense of it. You need to open your eyes and look at the symbols on both sides of the podium, which is about an 8 or 9 foot high fascia, called a fascia, a bundle of sticks with a hatchet head, the symbol of royal power in Rome. Our system is under Rome. Doesn't matter what you think of the Roman Catholic Church. It doesn't matter what you think of the religion of the Roman Catholic Church. All you need to know is your country is dominated by the Pope, period.
The truth is hidden in plain sight, and this is how they hide everything. If you are looking for the knowledge that has been hidden from us, if you want to know the meaning behind these symbols, if you want to know who controls the world, this ebook will literally unveil that to you, and ye shall know the truth, and truth shall set you free.
Fully convinced. We're stealing all of our tech from ancient temples. I know what you're thinking. That's just one example. No, it's not. That's a different temple, different ceiling. Okay, turbines are really complex. They got a lot of moving parts. Yeah, and they put those in there too. They're on the pillars. Speaking of pillars, you ever seen these? These are ionic pillars. Ionic pillars. I caught you. I'm onto you. I got you. Okay. Parabolic antenna. It's a fancy word for satellite TV dish. Egypt. Yeah, y'all have been to Karnak, I know. But have you been to the Osirian? Because from the top down, it looks a whole lot like a really basic computer processor. Probably just took a quick drive over to Promenade and upgraded the hardware, huh? Where are you going to plug that in? Ancient city in China? Right there, maybe? Feeling a little bit more Middle Eastern, maybe Persepolis? High frequency oscillator. You mean Anchor Watt? Yeah, cat's out of the bag, buddy. Micro resonator. You mean Tamil Temple? I didn't forget about the circuit diagram. Yeah, you didn't reverse engineer an acoustic masterpiece. Plasma confinement. Well, that's a quick little upgrade if you just go to Dendera. Then you got a cathode ray tube, old tube TV. Quantum computer. I need to see the sky miles, especially from the guys at CERN. Y'all think you're just so smart, huh? I'm on to you.